This is a lecture from Open Tuition. For the free lecture notes that go with this podcast, please visit opentuition.com.
I want you to carry on now. Part B upset quite a few people. B part 1. Hello? Before I shut up. There's one bit, I mean, you can, well, the minute you look at it, you see there's mention of probabilities. Some people got all panic-stricken when they saw probabilities. In fact, the one bit of technique you do need for the full answer, I think, is something all of you have seen before, but I will obviously go through it. But everybody, whether the probabilities upset you or don't, there are 9 marks for B1. There's no excuse at all, apart from reading again, for not getting at least 5 of those marks, even if you get worried about probabilities. All right? You know, don't give up. So, although there shouldn't be a problem on the probabilities, if it does worry anyone, well, I don't care. Start to have a go, please. You can certainly get 5 out of 9 with no knowledge whatsoever of probabilities. Can I interrupt, please? Can I interrupt? Part B1, be very, very careful. For several reasons. Hello? I'll shut up again in a minute. But we all ended up, I hope, sorting out Part A. But again, because it's very obvious to all of you, you've had time to read B1, you obviously need the figures from Part A. Again, I know you've done exams before, so, don't be insulted. But it becomes really critical, given in the exam, you can quite obviously, easily have gone wrong somewhere in Part A and got the wrong figure. Yeah? It's absolutely critical in Part B that you've made it clear what you're doing, because obviously, even if Part A was wrong, you can still get full marks on Part B, but only if they can see what you're doing. Yeah? Now, I know that stands to reason, but it becomes absolutely critical here. It sounds silly, but whenever I did exams, I always assumed I'd got every figure wrong, but made sure I'd written enough that, I could get marks for what I've done. One bit walking around, I think you're all clear basically what's going on in Part B, that because of this new government thing or whatever it is, the estimates we've made for next year might change. Okay, Equine College, the fees might change. And although you can show your workings in a million different ways, that I don't care, I hope it was clear to everybody that if the fees go down, your revenue goes down, but since the costs are fixed, they stay the same. Alright? So you can check my figures in a minute, and, well, I was going to say I think they're right, I know they're right. That there was the revenue before. Fees go down 10%, revenue goes down, it's 90% of that. But the fixed costs remain. Are we all clear there? Everybody? Riding school, see what I've done, because you could have done riding school in several ways. But clearly time always is a problem. I think my way's the most efficient. With riding school, it's capacity that stands to change. And remember, currently we're on 80% capacity. Now, if the capacity changes, again, I hope we all agree the fixed costs stay fixed. It's the revenue that will change. Hello? Sorry, it wasn't the capacity, it was the use of the capacity, yeah? But if you use more or less, the revenue goes up or down. What a lot missed, I don't know about you, is that currently you are on 80% capacity. So if it stays at 80% capacity, nothing will change. It's the profit we had before. But if the capacity is higher or lower, again, revenue is higher or lower, but fixed stay the same. You agree? Now, you could have calculated the numbers all over again, but I don't think there's a quicker way than this. I think this is the most efficient. At the moment, the revenue is 7.2 million or whatever. Yeah, we'd all got that before. Well, if that was the revenue for 80 capacity, but we're actually 90% capacity, does what I've done make sense? That if that's the capacity for 80, the capacity for 90 will be 90 divided by 80 times that. Now, I say again, you don't have to do that. By all means, it doesn't take that long. Repeat what we did here. Work out your working days again and all that business, but use 90% or the other one 70%. But I say again, if these are the figures for 80%, surely 90% is 90 divided by 8 is that much bigger, 70%. You understand what I'm saying, Gibbon?
I understand. I'm just thinking whether there is no impact because two levels had the price increase and one didn't.
Hey, it won't make any difference, surely. Because at 80% capacity, it was that many lessons. You were happy there? Yeah? If it's 90% capacity, the number of lessons will change, yeah. 90 divided by 80 times it, or repeat the whole thing. But then all of those will change by the same amount. And if all of those are going up by 8% or something, whatever it is, surely the total revenue goes up by that as well. Nothing else is affected. You agree?
Almost.
All right, well, shout back if you need. However, I say again, but listen, I haven't finished, because walking round, I think most of you are falling for one trick. So keep listening, please. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, Paulius, I'm sorry, he's excited. Please, I mean, see what I've done there, please, if you didn't, because I think you've got to agree that is quicker. And again, if this is something that had only occurred once in history, I wouldn't be too bothered. But he's done the same sort of thing several times, yeah? Having said that, although I think my way's quicker, again, it doesn't take that long to have repeated what we did earlier on, 90% on 70%. And obviously it's more important to get it right than looking to save 2 or 3 minutes, you know? However, this is the bit, can you all listen? A lot of you walking around, I think you've all heard of, I think you all, whatever you've done before, should have heard of expected values, yeah? And you've started multiplying by probabilities. But you're not answering the question. B part 1, it was 5 out of 9 marks, said prepare a summary table which shows the possible net profit or loss outcomes. Alright? It was 5 out of the 9 marks.
I even don't understand this question.
Hold on, that's what we're talking about. But whether you understand the rest of it or not, do you understand that the first bit of that says prepare a summary table which shows the net profit or loss outcomes? Do you agree? He wants a table and he wants to show the outcomes. Yeah? Well, why should the profit be different than before? Before, the profit was 548 million. Yeah? You agree that, Didsis? Why should the total profit be different in the future? Because of 2 different things. The reason the profit next year might be different from that is because the Equine College, it may be the same, it may be lower, and completely separately, the riding school, the profit may stay as it was before, it may be higher, it may be lower. Or whatever. Sorry, I can't see my own figures. I'm not sure the last one could be right, could it? Sorry, I'll check the last one in 1 minute. Yeah? Hello? But the point I'm getting at is this. It wants a table of all the possible profit or loss outcomes. Well, the profit from the Equine College, I think one of these is wrong, I will check it. But the profit of the Equine College is that, or that. The profit from the riding school will be that, or that. Do we all agree? For the profit for the whole business, which is what he's after, surely. That's what you did in part A. You know, we'd had all the workings, but the profit for the whole business was whatever it was. How many possible profits are there from the whole business next year? 9, Didsis. There are 9, surely, because these are 2 separate bits. The Equine College it might be no change. You all agreed with me? And it's that. But even if it's no change, the riding school might be that, or that. On the other hand, the profit from the Equine College might only be 3 million. But the profit for the riding school could be that, or that. And finally, of course, the Equine College could be 2.1 million. But the profit for the riding school could be that, or that. Yeah? They're 2 completely separate things.
How did you understand from this question that you should do like that?
2 things. First of all, he does say, prepare a table showing the possible net profit and outcomes. That doesn't say there are going to be 9, but he surely did this. If he says prepare a table showing the profit, he wants the total profit from the riding school.
Based on this table.
Yes, hold on. Do you agree, first of all, that he actually wants a table showing the possible total profits? Do you agree that? That's not enough, yeah? Even, I keep saying I think one's wrong, but even if those figures are right, that's not enough. It's not showing the total profit. True? However, the other bit, I mean, you cannot learn this, I'm afraid, but just think sensibly. We've obviously two parts to the business. Agreed? You've all understood that the Equine College, because of fees, the profit might be higher or lower. Equally, you've understood that the riding school, because of capacity, its profit might be higher or lower. True? But surely, there's absolutely no connection between what fees you're charging in one part of the business and how much capacity you're using in the other part. It's two completely separate parts of the business. It says so.
Where?
It said in the very beginning. How did you do part A? One part, it said on the very beginning, Equine Management College. They operate an Equine College. Sorry, that was at the very beginning of the other page. They operate an Equine College. And separately, further down the first page, they operate a riding school. There are two completely separate parts to the business. On page 1.
But on the page 2 they say Open Academy comprising on Equine College and Riding School.
Hey, read that carefully. Sorry, I should have read that first. The government of Heartland has announced its intention to open an academy. That's not us. We're EMA, Equine Management Academy. The government of Heartland has announced its intention to open an academy. They're going to compete with us. The management of EMA are uncertain of the impact this will have. And so because the government, there's going to be this competitor, our business is going to be affected. Now have you got it? Yes. Sorry, I should have read that first. The problem here is more the reading than the numbers, did sis. It wants the effect on EMA. And now, sorry, have you got me? That, EMA has two separate bits. One bit may go up, one may go down, and so on. There are 9 possible outcomes. Okay? So, I need to check one of my figures, but otherwise, can you please list the 9 possible outcomes? And we won't waste time. List the 9 possible outcomes, and then we'll just discuss the probability bit. Okay? My figures are right, are they? Oh, thank you. There was I starting to feel embarrassed. Sorry, that took me a while. Anyway, we're going to finish the thing off together. Is everybody clear what I was doing there, please? Is anybody clear what I was doing there? Are we all clear? Again, it's time. It is careful reading, did sis. But I've convinced you now, yeah? I hope. But would everybody agree with me that although we've not finished B1 yet, I appreciate that the problem there is not a technique or arithmetic problem. It's yet again. It's a lot to do for as I say, only 5 marks so far. It's a lot to do. But the problem is this combination of speed on your calculator and the reading. Yeah? There's not one of you can tell me that's arithmetically hard. I'm sorry. But that's what you've got to live with. The main problem always in the numbers question in the compulsory section, the main problem always is nothing to do with what you've learnt or not learnt. It's that combination of speed and reading, and it's reading that's the biggest problem in the middle of an exam. I don't think any of you can complain here about the English. But I think you've got to agree with me that whether you read it right here or not, in the middle of an exam, that's where the danger is. And nobody's listening to me, but I can't stress that enough. Because that's going to happen in your exam. Everybody rushes into the numbers, expecting the numbers to be hard. The numbers themselves won't be hard. Ever in the compulsory. Never. There's not one number there that's difficult. What's going to be the problem? Alright, you've got to be fast with your calculator, clearly, but I don't think that's a problem for anybody. But where the problem is misreading, reading too fast, jumping in and doing things that aren't needed, and whatever. Alright? And do bear that in mind, please. As long as you're quick with your calculator, you can afford and you must spend that much more time reading. And, I know I've said it, and I make no apology for repeating, because you've got to be realistic, you are going to misread bits, or because you're doing it so fast make mistakes. That's why I stressed before, it becomes so much more important that you're making it clear what you're doing, then you can still get credit even for misreading and so on. Okay?